Welcoming to the show right now, please say hello to Al Jean. I don't know else how to describe you. The Simpsons. You're everything The Simpsons, sir.
Well, or everything I have is turned into Simpsons, but I'm been there 25 years and very proud of it.
Are you the showrunner? Are you the guy that everybody reports to?
Yeah, you know, it's funny. When I started, showrunner wasn't a term anybody had ever heard of, which means head writer and, you know, in charge of budgets and editing. And if something goes wrong, it's my fault.
You've been with this show for so many years in some capacity or another. The FXX network just did the big Simpsons marathon, 12 straight days, killed in the ratings, unprecedented on all levels. How does it feel to look back at some of these episodes? Do you remember some of these things, or do you look at it and go, oh my God, I completely forgot we did that?
It's both. I mean, it really was like having your life flash before your eyes with a limited number of commercials. You know, I was really, not just proud of the work, but we, you know, went on Twitter with different writers from different eras, which was really, really emotional, you know, almost for me. And I thought the animation looked fantastic right from the start. I thought that sometimes we repeated certain jokes or ideas a little more than I'd remember. That was a little embarrassing when they're all back to back. But overall, I would recommend it to anybody. It was a wonderful thing to happen.
I know you probably get this all the time. I mean, you've worked on so many different levels of this show and created so many different masterpieces that involve all the Simpsons characters here. I got to ask you, probably the question you get all the time, what is your favorite episode?
Yeah, and it's so hard. It's like saying what's your favorite child. One thing I did, I watched 3 episodes where I was showrunner. One was Anne Hathaway as Princess Penelope. Then there was one where Homer won $1 million but couldn't tell Marge. Then there was the curling show. They aired in a row. And I really enjoyed them. I was like, these were really funny, really great episodes, each in their own way. So that's my new favorite trio.
And those are later episodes outside of what people consider the golden age of The Simpsons. And I hate that term because I'm one of those guys that, as a kid, I found the show on Tracy Ullman, watched the shorts, and then when Fox promoted that it was coming to Sunday nights, you know, a full-length Christmas episode, and that the series was coming, and I was just addicted. And I know throughout my life I've watched every episode. I don't remember them all, but I know I at least watched every episode once. Outside of that golden age that everybody likes to pocket The Simpsons into, I'd say up to about season 12, maybe.
Well, that's where they end it now. That's one reason. I am so glad you said you don't like the term, but it seems to vary. Like it goes later every year. But go ahead.
I think it's more of a generational switch. Like people who found the show at the very beginning, maybe found it through Tracy Ullman. They watched it for a set amount of years, and then maybe they grew up or maybe they moved on. So a lot of people that remember The Simpsons remember that time period as being the best time period because that's when they found it. But as you go past seasons 13 all the way up to season 25 and season 26 that's coming up in October, you find people have different episodes that are their favorite, and it's not always within that little golden age period that people like to do. And it's really refreshing to hear that you have some of these episodes that are from a later time period.
I do, and I'll give you another one. It's called Gone, Maggie, Gone, where it just was a brilliant Da Vinci Code parody with great animation. I recommend that for everybody who says, oh, the show had never had a good episode after season blank. And I think that, there's a little something. I know, when I first heard the Beatles, it's hard to, ever recapture that feeling when you first heard something as a kid and got into it. And I'm not saying we didn't do great episodes then or that we don't do bad episodes now or that we didn't do bad episodes then, but we also do great episodes now. I mean, I think it was so wonderful that the highest rated day of the marathon was the last day, which is
right.
The people had just seen, and it showed that there is a huge following for the run of The Simpsons. And the last thing I'll say, because I don't want to, it was wonderful. I don't want to be negative in any way, but people go, I hate The Simpsons. I haven't watched it in 20 years. Well, how do you hate it if you haven't seen it?
Exactly. Well, let me point out one thing that happened during the marathon that I thought was a little weak on FXX's part, is when after the 2007 season, you showed the movie, or they showed the movie,
right.
And the scene where Bart is skateboarding naked, and in the movie and on DVD and Blu-ray, you can, they show a genitalia shot. But on the marathon, there's a black bar across it saying, available in the European version or something like that.
Yes, that was what we had to do for telecast on Fox. But hey, what's basic cable for if not to show a little penis? I was surprised about that.
Yeah.
I mean, although I have to say I was overwhelmingly happy with it. Yeah, no, I was going to ask them about that. That was like my only minor quibble. But I mean, it was so great of them to schedule the movie at that point, and the care and the attention that they've paid to the show, the ads they've done, and most exciting, the app that's coming, I think is going to be terrific.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. I do want to also say to you that, when people say, oh, my favorite episode is this, and it's from that little, season 2 through 12, somewhere in that span, and that we all have our favorite episodes from that time period. But you're saying that you're doing good work with the later episodes, and I do have to say that is true because a few years ago you made an episode where it was the big thing in Springfield to be part of the volunteer fire department, but they turned it into the mafia, where they were going around setting fires to people's houses unless they were paid to put it out. I thought that was brilliant.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, no, a lot of things. I love the one, too, where they built a concert hall and then people hated it, and it turned it into a prison. I mean, it's just stuff that I know, had we done it in season 4, people would have said, oh, this is brilliant, and, because it isn't in that time period, people may not have seen it. So I'm really... There's nothing better than, it being on FXX and everybody getting a chance to see these.
And I also think in the later seasons and the more recent seasons, people who aren't paying attention to the show, you're missing a lot of great and highbrow material. You guys are getting away with a lot more stuff, a lot more risque stuff in a very clever way than you ever would have during that early part of The Simpsons. There was an episode where Homer pissed off the entire town again, and Mayor Quimby was saying something, I'm tired of all these jerks. And Chief Wiggum comes over, why don't you borrow some of my jerk off? And he's holding a spray can that says jerk off. And I'm sitting there like, I'm watching this on The Simpsons. I'm like, I can't believe they got away with that.
We did. That was the 500th episode, actually. So it was like our, nostalgic landmark episode that we put that in. And the other thing about HD, again, people judge for themselves as the quality. But the frame now requires, much more material. There's so much more information you can put on the screen that if we go to a library, we were writing all these book jokes. I mean, it's really, intensive, and I think the animators have done some spectacular things with it.
I'm talking with Al Jean, the showrunner of The Simpsons. I do want to get into the Hollywood Bowl, which is what they're doing live with The Simpsons in just a minute here. But I also want to ask you about, I recently heard your partner, your friend Mike Reese on Gilbert Gottfried's podcast not too long ago.
Both hilarious people,
right?
Mike and Gilbert. And
he was telling some stories about the history that you two had, and I was not aware that you guys were working together on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson.
We did. We wrote for Johnny from 84 to 86. We met him 3 times. So in 1.5 years of working for him. So now this conversation has lasted longer than my talk with Johnny, in the course of working for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so when we met him, he was Johnny Carson. He was, being charming and the guy that you saw, and yeah, he was a relentlessly private man. They did a documentary that I was privileged to be in, an American Masters, about him, that I really recommend for anybody that wants to remember him. And it also shows how people like Drew Carey's whole careers were made by Johnny and how emotional he got over.
And Seinfeld,
really,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it really was. He was also very, very hard to get to know, and I certainly would never say I met him. I would never say I knew him.
It's interesting that you said a lot of these comics owe their careers and got their starts through The Tonight Show. One of the comics that was a guest host for a while, and you wound up working with developing his own series, it's Gary Shandling Show, when Fox was just starting out. I loved this show. Even though I was a little kid, I still picked up on a lot of the Gary breaking the fourth wall, talking to an audience while the rest of the cast is still, pretending that they're in a TV show. One of the episodes where you had him fall down the well was amazing.
Yes, that was written by a writer, Richard Day, and it was really funny parody of,
Baby Jessica.
Fall in the Well, which we actually later did on The Simpsons. And there are a lot of Simpsons writers on the Shandling staff. Sam Simon was there, who, of course, was integral to The Simpsons. Mike and I were there. Gamble and Pross left there, went from Seinfeld to The Simpsons. It was a wonderful show, and Gary is one of the funniest people I've ever worked with, one of the top 5. Just really brilliant, funny guy.
One other question about the Gary Shandling Show, and then we'll move on here. You did an episode, it was a special episode, right around the time of the 1988 presidential election, and Gary had the state board in his living room, and he was predicting all the votes coming in, and you were doing the exact opposite of what was actually coming in around the country.
The premise was we knew Dukakis was going to lose, but We actually had Don Cornelius of Soul Train as a guest star, and they were going to have a victory party for Dukakis.
Right.
And it was live. It was originally broadcast live, and ironically, the concession speech by Dukakis came on right as the show was ending.
Yeah, I do remember that. What took so long to get that out on DVD?
It's possible. I don't know what the rights were. You know, it was a Showtime series, and then it was bought by Fox. I don't know who owned it. And also, Gary, you know, really wanted to make, like he did with Larry Sanders, a terrific DVD. And those commentaries that we did for that show, I had so much fun because we just went in and, you know, we were ragging on Gary for his 80s fashions. And I mean, he was there. And
the whole "How's my hair?"
Well, I'll be honest. There was a scene in a show we wrote and aired in like '88 where the end of the show had Gary in a bathrobe next to a little boy next to a Catholic priest. And I said, Gary, when was this ever not like very scary imagery? Like, I'm going like, what? This is the end of a comedy show? It was crazy.
Well, I'm glad it finally came out on DVD, and people, if you haven't got a chance to see it, it's the Gary Shandling Show. It's way ahead of its time for a network that nobody expected to succeed or go anywhere and do anything. Another side project that you had during your course of The Simpsons, where you left for a little bit, was The Critic. And people watched it when it was on, look back at this show very fondly, and it's a great piece of work, but it wasn't bringing in the viewers, and I don't understand why, because it was on ABC, got canceled, went to Fox, finished out its run, and then never got picked up again.
Well, I'll tell you the truth. On ABC, it was incompatible with the shows they had. They put it after Home Improvement, which is a funny show, but a different kind of show, and so it wasn't working. On Fox, when it was after The Simpsons, we did get good ratings, and it was this thing that happens sometimes. The person that bought it for Fox, a woman named Lucy Solhaney, who was running the network, left the network. And by the time the show came on, the new president took this visceral dislike to the show and canceled it, even though it got good ratings. And that was very difficult to accept, that it actually was doing well. They canceled it just because the president didn't like it. It was replaced with something that did much worse. And then they told everybody, oh, we want to develop an animated show to follow The Simpsons. And that turned into King of the Hill, which, of course, was totally independent. But, you know, I was very I found that very difficult that somebody could, and they lied, you know, I'm a math major, so they lied about the numbers. They were saying, no, it's not doing well, and it was on Fox.
Well, it's a shame because it was a very well thought out show, very well written. Even when you see it on reruns, there's some gags in the parodies that you guys used to do that still hold up today.
I appreciate it. Yeah, well, you never know. I mean, Lovitz is still interested in doing it, and if The Simpsons ever ends, which I hope it doesn't.
All right, great. You brought up Lovitz here because Lovitz had some very iconic characters, guest spots on The Simpsons, and he's part of the Hollywood Bowl.
He's going to be at the Bowl, and he was really funny at the Read, and he'll sing. Conan will appear at the Bowl. Weird Al Yankovic. It's really going to be amazing. Friday the 12th, Saturday the 13th, Sunday the 14th. And if you're any kind of fan of The Simpsons, I think you'll really have a special night.
I really have to tell you, I'm so pissed that I cannot be out in L.A. to see this thing. If there's anything that I really wanted to see in my life before I die, one was the Monty Python live show that they just did, and I did not have an opportunity to see that. The other was to see The Simpsons Hollywood Bowl, and I'm not going to be able to do that either. Will that be available maybe on a DVD or some kind of online streaming download?
You know, everybody's doing this kind of as a favor to us, you know. So there are no plans to film it or put it on DVD. But the only reason I'm promoting it as heavily as I am because I did it for free too. But I think people, if they have a chance to see it and don't see it, they'll wish they had because it is going to be that fun.
Is there any exclusive merchandise that's being sold at this event? Not that you'd need an incentive to go see this thing. You're crazy if you don't. But is there anything exclusive to that event that's going to be put out?
You know, I don't think we're doing exclusives based on we're obviously going to sell Simpsons stuff, but to my knowledge, no. I mean, not like bowl T-shirts or anything. But there will be, surprise, like stuff like walk-arounds, but not just that, like special, joke stuff in the bowl. And we're trying to make the bowl look different than it ever has and Simpson-y.
If you're in the Los Angeles area, it's HollywoodBowl.com for tickets. Friday, September 12th, 8 p.m., Saturday the 13th, 8 p.m., and Sunday the 14th at 7:30 p.m. for The Simpsons Live at the Hollywood Bowl. Again, you're out of your fucking mind if you don't go and see this thing because this is a once-in-a-lifetime experience for you. I know it came out about Conan and the Gay Men's Choir of Los Angeles that they're going to be singing the monorail song. Is there anything else that maybe you can tease, or is it all hush-hush for the event? Like, what other songs would they be performing?
The chorus will also sing See My Vest, and we'll also sing the Stonecutters song.
Nice.
Both Hans Zimmer and Alf Clausen will be there. Hans directed the Simpsons movie and did music for the Simpsons movie, and Alf has done almost all the music on the show and its run. We'll have Beverly D'Angelo singing the song she wrote for Colonel Homer. Hank, Nancy, and Yardley will be there, and there's more, but I don't want to give everything away.
Okay, fair enough. I see Matt Groening's a part of it, as he should be.
Yep.
Is he going to be singing as well?
Well, you'll see.
Well, I won't see. That's why I'm asking you.
I mean, Seth MacFarlane has sort of made it mandatory if you're a TV cartoon creator, hasn't he?
He set a really weird bar for animators.
Yes, I know. He does it all. It's amazing.
Before, I know your time's valuable and you're going to have to go. But before we go...
I mentioned just we premiere on the FX on September 28th.
Well, that's one of the things I was going to get to. On September 28th, the episode's called Clown in the Dumps, and it features the death of a character.
Right.
Now, was this thought up before Marshall Wallace passed away?
Yes. What it was an interview of a conference call. Someone said, what episodes do you have in the works? And I mentioned there was one where a character, who's a wonderful character, others later said it was iconic, although I never used that word, but whose a performer has won an Emmy for playing that character, dies in an episode, and we deal with the ramifications of it. And it turned into this huge thing where we're like Game of Thrones, and it's going to be a bloodbath. It's like, what it is it's a sweet, emotional episode, and I think, works really well. I'm really happy with it. And there's also a couch gag opening it that'll blow everybody's mind. Do
you think this is on par with the hype surrounding Who Shot Mr. Burns?
It's pretty huge, and it was unintentional. It was, I honestly was just saying, here's a story that we're doing, and then the next thing I knew, it was an enormous, of course, so once you get this press, you don't want to lose it, so I gave what little clues I could without revealing it, and I'm like out of clues. I can't say anything more. But I can say some have guessed it correctly, some have figured it out. And I think if you watch it, the clues that we gave add up, and it's, not a cheat, not a trick. The person is not going to come back to life, or, it just is. I'd say it's reality, but of course none of this is reality.
Well, based on everything that you've said so far, I'm going to give my guess. You don't have to say anything. Lord knows you can't. My guess was Krusty's dad, Rabbi Hyman Kristofsky. But who knows? You'll have to tune in on September 28th on Fox for the season 26 premiere of The Simpsons. Al, before you go...
keep my mouth shut for 3 more weeks.
Al, before you go, I got to ask you a couple more things. I talked to Bill Oakley not too long ago, and he was telling me about the writing process for The Simpsons. And I said, when the show started to become really successful and the merchandising was... Not that it's not good, but I think maybe was at its peak back in the day... He told me that they never got anything. They always wound up having to buy their own Simpsons merchandise. Was that true for you as well?
Well, every year there's a Christmas gift that Gracie Films gives to the crew, the writers and everybody, and that's been wonderful. The first year, Matt gave all of us a pinball machine, so I don't want to put words in Bill's mouth, but my experience has been, every year I've gotten something wonderful from the show that I've worked on it.
Any of that stuff you're looking to part with?
Well... Knock wood, no, not yet.
Since you're the showrunner, and, outside of Matt and Gracie Productions there, you'll probably be the guy to talk to. Let me just ask you one question about the opening sequence. A couple years ago, you took a left turn with the opening sequence and did Kesha's TikTok. And The Simpsons had not really gone that direction before. Since that has happened now, and anything can happen in the world of HD animation, because it's a lot easier than it used to be back in the day, did you ever maybe think of doing an opening sequence at Moe's and using like Billy Joel's Piano Man to be about Springfield and The Simpsons?
That's a good idea. I can say just the TikTok one was because the network said we want a musical opening, and that was when those lip dubs had first come out, and my attraction to it was, this would just be really cool to see the animators do it, and I thought they did an incredible job. It was really complicated. And then what subsequently happened, now anything's possible. I had seen the Banksy film, Exit to the Gift Shop, and I thought, it'd be funny if he graffitied our main titles. And we had that happen, and it was a real surprise, and people liked it. So then we thought, wow, we can actually have these great guest stars, people in animation we love, like John Kay, do couch gags, and that's been terrific. And we do have, not Billy Joel, but we do have a song-based couch gag coming up in one of my favorite songs ever, and it's the full song in the upcoming season. It's one of the first 4 episodes. I think it's the one that airs October 12th. We have a really cool musical couch gag.
I know the season's not 100% complete, but Billy Joel's Piano Man said at Moe's might be something you want to look at.
That's a great idea. Thank you for pitching it.
Season 26, how much longer do you think The Simpsons is going to be around?
I really can't even guess. You know, I used to say a couple more years or 5 more years. The marathon kind of shattered everybody's expectations of everything, so I don't know. I think at least 4 more years, but I don't want to jinx it.
Al, I read an interesting quote on how you think The Simpsons should end. You said that you would feel that the final episode should end with the arrival of the Christmas pageant from the first scene of the first episode so that the whole series is on a continuous loop.
Yeah, that's my idea for the end, which would be that they're heading for that Christmas pageant that you saw in the first half-hour episode so that there is no end, that the whole thing is continuous. So I hope it never happens, but that'd be my end.
That's a great way to go out, sir.
Oh, thank you. Well, maybe we'll do it.
The Simpsons live at the Hollywood Bowl. HollywoodBowl.com for tickets. Friday, September 12th, 8 p.m. September 13th, which is Saturday, 8 p.m. And Sunday the 14th at 7:30 p.m. This has been Al Jean, showrunner, head muckety-muck for The Simpsons. It was great talking to you on Twitter, and I really appreciate you taking the time out to talk to me about this. I'm a lifelong fan. I got to meet you when you came on the Opie and Anthony show to promote the movie. You couldn't have been nicer, and just want to thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.